Disney has cut a scene from Toy Story 2 and the media's very disappointing reaction to it. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and just a short note before we begin talking about any of the following subject at hand. If you hear fireworks or explosions or something in the background, don't worry, the zombie apocalypse has not actually come. It is just the 4th of July. I have to record right now for tomorrow's videos, which is today for all of you in the future. And, well, my street is a particularly festive one, so that's what it is. So if that's just what the noise is, sorry about that. Hopefully it's not too distracting. But I wanted to talk about this, particularly because I actually, on the 4th of July, saw Toy Story 4 a second time. I went to see it in 3D this time as opposed to the first time, which was IMAX 2D. Honestly, 3D was pretty weak. You can definitely skip on the 3D, although I still pre-ordered it on Blu-ray 3D from Zavvi. I guess I'm getting a t-shirt with that one, so, huge 3D fan. That's just how it works. However, when I was watching the movie, it reminded me something. That the Toy Story movies, save for 3, I think 3 is actually kind of flawed to a certain extent. The Toy Story movies are pretty much sheer movie perfection. Yeah, Toy Story 1 might have some fairly weak animation in comparison to what the current movie has to offer. However, you have Toy Story 1, which is like great screenplay, great movie, 5 stars. Toy Story 2, 5 stars. Toy Story 3, about 3.5 stars. And then Toy Story 4, 4 to 4.5 stars. These movies are almost as perfect as they can be. Now, Toy Story 2, I consider to be the perfection of all Pixar. It is definitely one of my top 5 favorite Pixar movies. Might even be one of my top 3. It might be my 3rd favorite. Who knows? And I think most would agree that you should not cut a single frame of something that's so undeniably a masterpiece. And yet, Disney has done it. They have. Because they have cut a casting couch joke from the blooper reel. Now, let's point out a couple things I should state before we get started on this. I understand why they would want to cut this out. I really do. This joke looks particularly bad in light of certain things that may have popped up about Pixar's, culture in the past 20 years. And I can see why they'd want to get rid of it. It should also be noted that this cut, unlike the crows from Dumbo, does not actually directly affect the story. This was a blooper. It is a joke. It is a little extra. It was an Easter egg. So, in a sense, it's not really part of the movie. That said, I am obviously still opposed to it. So what's going on here? Let's look at this article from Variety. Disney has discreetly cut a Toy Story 2 post-credit scene featuring a casting couch reference from new home entertainment releases of the sequel film. In one of the gags of the film's mock blooper reel, the prosecutor character Stinky Pete offers 2 Barbie dolls a role in a film for the implicit return of sexual favors, a Hollywood practice known as the casting couch. Several internet forums and DVD websites, including Reddit, Re-Release News, and Blu-ray.com, picked up on the edit. So, you two are absolutely identical, Stinky Pete flirts with the dolls. I'm sure I could get you a part in Toy Story 3. Stinky Pete looks the women over and suggestively grabs one of their hands until realizing he is on camera. He says to the camera in a panic, "I'm sorry, are we back? Lovely talking with you, yes. Anytime you'd like tips on acting, I'd be happy to talk with you." That's about as close to a Kelsey Grammer, boy, they're really loud out there. That's about as close to a Kelsey Grammer impression I can get. This is going to be a fun video, all the fireworks in the background. So anyway, now here's the thing. I think I should point out something about this joke. First of all, the joke isn't explicitly about the casting couch. Granted, it's obviously a subtext there. But the joke, should be pointed out, is that Stinky Pete was flirting with a couple women, and he didn't realize he was being filmed. That's the joke. So, but again, I'm understanding where they're coming from, and I'll explain why in a moment. In the wake of the Me Too movement, casting couch allegations against powerful entertainment industry moguls such as Harvey Weinstein and Les Moonves have made international headlines and sparked public discourse about sexual misconduct. And here's the important part. Disney's own executive John Lasseter was the center of a high-profile Me Too moment after being accused of misconduct by multiple employees. Now, here's the thing. Disney, it says here, they re-released the 3 Toy Story films on Blu-ray, DVD, digital HD, and 4K, coinciding with theatrical and Toy Story 4. So that's where people notice it was removed. However, if you have this movie digitally, it's probably already gone, because my digital copy came from this. My Blu-ray 3D combo pack of Toy Story 2, which Disney used to release these in America. In fact, This thing is so old that to get the digital copy, believe it or not, we used to do this. It's not here anymore, but there was a separate disc just for the digital copy. In fact, you know what I might do? Because that's looking a little lonely, I might just take the CD out of the case and put it there. Because that's what I did with Toy Story 3. I put like a burned copy of the third soundtrack since that was digital only. I don't know. I'm trying to save space where I can. So, and I went on to Vudu. Can't show you, of course, because of copyright infringement. That will happen. And I watched the bloopers. And first of all, they're all very funny. Secondly, yep, the scene was no longer there. Bought this thing years ago, probably 10 years ago, have I had this digitally on Vudu, on Movies Everywhere, and Disney decided they just wanted to take it away. One more reason you do not want to buy digital Disney anything. In fact, because of this situation, I have to say with great certainty, do not purchase any of your Disney movies exclusively on digital. Because Disney will not hesitate to go in, change the movie, and they won't even talk to you about it. Because that's the other part of this that is so scummy. Disney has not been very upfront about this being cut. Now, I disagree with parts of this article. I will definitely share what parts I disagree with, but Disney did not tell anyone that they were doing this. And here's what the article says. Disney is not a company known for explaining itself, but why on earth you would do a good thing in a way that makes it look shady really is beyond me. Now, this is where we're going to start getting into the disagreement part, because I do not believe in censorship. I don't believe in cutting anything from anything, no matter how much you're offended, especially when the movie is a product of its time. In a new 4K Blu-ray edition of Pixar's Toy Story 2 released on June 4th, Disney removed from the film's closing credits bloopers a scene of Stinky Pete, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, sexually harassing two Barbie dolls. And then they have the scene right there. That decision is good. Wrong. That decision is bad. You do not change movies. You don't cut things. You know what's really funny about all this? Years ago, when we first got the special editions of Star Wars, George Lucas changed it so that Han Solo didn't shoot Greedo first. Greedo shoots and then Han Solo shoots. By the way, if you ever heard the meme Han shot first, this is what I'm talking about. And a lot of people claim like, no, why would you do that? And Lou's like, well, he looks like a bad guy when he does that. And they're like, well, he is a little rough around the edges. That's why we like Han Solo. He's not 100% good. Now, interestingly, all of the protests from that scene years ago, if we did that today, had we never known about this and we're doing it today, people might say, yeah, that's good. I mean, Han Solo kind of looks like a jerk and kids watch him and he's a role model to kids. We should cut that scene. What's next? Are we going to start changing The Godfather? Are we going to have to like, hey, the mafia, let's cut all the bad things that Don Corleone actually does because, you know, Don Corleone is supposed to be a good guy, right? No, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy who has a good heart. There is a difference. And are we going to start removing Bette Davis, smoking in all of her films? She always had a cigarette in her hand. Are we going to remove the cigarette from every one of her movies just because we know now smoking is probably not the best thing to be doing? Heck, are we going to be going back to old Archie comics and removing all the jokes about Jughead Jones eating lots and lots of cheeseburgers, or Garfield overeating and just shoveling food down his mouth because, hey, guess what? Diabetes, big thing. You shouldn't be eating like a pig. That is why you shouldn't cut anything. Where is the line drawn? Why is the line drawn? Now, again, we are at this point where it's like, I understand why Disney did this. There's a lot of sensitivity between the whole Me Too movement and John Lasseter, who directed Toy Story 2, want to add, because this doesn't help the situation, might have been caught doing it. Personally, I think his allegations were probably overblown just a little bit. However, they were bad enough where, yeah, I can understand why he had to go. I mean, so, I don't think he was like a deviant like Harvey Weinstein was, but he was a problem. So Disney and Pixar basically want to ignore that it ever happened. However, then, what happens if Andrew Stanton, the director of WALL-E and Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, is caught doing something wrong? Are we just going to pretend those movies don't exist? But anyway, let's continue this because this is the modern response to this. But Disney did it with no explanation or announcement. Though members of online communities noticed almost at once, most media only caught on recently, and that is almost as creepy and stinky as old Pete himself. Yes, and I agree, because you're buying a movie, you're expecting things to be in it. And yeah, this scene is probably 12, 15 seconds at most, and it doesn't affect the movie itself. But hey, it's been there for a long time. I remember when I bought the Blu-ray release of The Muppet Christmas Carol, and for years I've been watching it on VHS with the song When Love Is Gone that was inserted back into the movie. Now, theatrically, the song was cut, but on VHS, it was put back in. Well, I guess the materials that they had were not good enough to make a widescreen version, so they've removed that scene from the future movies, and it's always been a little weird that it's not there anymore. So people want what they're used to, and this joke was part of it, and they should have been upfront about it. Now, here's the thing. The film came out years before Pixar was under Disney ownership, although the studio distributed all of Pixar's feature films even before the acquisition. But it was Disney that had to deal with years of Lasseter rumors becoming public accusations, and it was Disney that showed him the door. Over the years, objectionable scenes from other older Disney movies properties have been cut or modified, sometimes in response to protests, changing the lyric where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face in the opening song to Aladdin, which I've kind of just had to accept at this point. And the company's refusal to release Song of the South on any platform is seen by some as an attempt to simply pretend that racism and racist imagery never existed. That is absolutely correct. You are pretending this never existed. It should be there for historical purposes. But the quiet excision of a fake blooper that periodically encapsulates part of the Hollywood mythology that has allowed women to be harmed by so many for so long without comment seems an enormous missed opportunity. Now, then she goes on, and I'm going to link this article below so you can read the whole thing. She remembers, laughing at it, and it was blue, because that's the thing, it's a joke. It's a joke. You might not find it very funny now, and hey, that's all fine and dandy, because, again, the world has changed quite a bit. However, we didn't know at the time this was going on. I mean, it just so... Yeah. And here's the thing. Her ultimate point... Here's her point. If only someone at Disney had thought... You see... Okay, so to every woman, including myself, who had to endure such leering, pawing, sexually insinuating promises of career assistance, I formally apologize. Basically, she's apologizing for finding the joke funny, which she shouldn't have to do. If only someone at Disney had thought to do the same, or at least use the scene to further an important conversation rather than simply avoid it. Yeah, in fact, you know what? Here's the thing. She actually brings up the Looney Tunes Golden Collection DVDs and Whoopi Goldberg's introductions for, Tom and Jerry cartoons. Because they show their cartoons uncut and say, we don't agree with what we do now. It was not good then. It's not good now. But we're leaving this here for important conversation. Now, what Disney could do... If they really needed to take it out of the film, they could have it in a deleted scene, and they could have people explaining why the joke was written, what the time was like, and how basically, in light of recent things that have come about, it's no longer appropriate to have in the film, but we are putting it here, explaining it so that you know it existed, and we are sorry that we did. That's, admittingly, what they should have done if they had to do this at all. Here's the big thing that concerns me, though. The big thing that concerns me, and it concerned me ever since I found out about the crows in Dumbo, because I got a lot of pushback from people who, stop shooting the fireworks, guys. I got a lot of pushback from people who said, well, why do you want the crows to say, and they're racist, they're this, it's like, yeah, here's the thing, guys. I am concerned, because this movie's 80 years old, okay? We can't expect it to have today's values, but once you start going back and changing things like that, then you give free run to do anything. And I made a prediction that Disney would censor more of their animation. They would not take it seriously. They would not treat their own movies as an art form. And we'd be all the worse off for it. Now, I did not expect them to do it to Toy Story 2. I was honestly expecting, Fantasia, old cartoons, maybe Cinderella. I don't know. One of those things. I was expecting one of those to be censored first. And yet, here it is. Toy Story 2. Movie's probably, it came out in 1999. It's about 20 years old at this point. 20 years old, and it's being cut. We're gonna see more Disney censorship, guys. The Disney Plus streaming service, it's gonna cut more jokes. And now the question is, what are they gonna cut? Hold on to those old DVD and Blu-ray releases for dear life. You don't know what they're gonna take out. And as I found out with the digital copy, even though I got that copy quite a while ago, a very long time ago, it was still missing when I looked it up, and that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. You can't trust Disney to not reach in and change the movies that you legally bought. Buy the discs, and if the digital's there, fine, but don't rely on the digital copy to preserve your Disney memories. They're not. In fact, when Disney Plus launches, it's going to be interesting because I have Dumbo digitally on Movies Anywhere. I'm going to wait to see if the crows are removed. And if they are, well, thank God I have the Blu-ray disc. But anyway, I'd like to know what all of you think about this. Do you think Disney did the right thing by cutting this joke? Do you disagree? Think they shouldn't have done that? I would love to know. So, comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. And as always, flame responsibly, and hopefully this house will not burn down before I get to upload this video.